There's a certain kind of person who hears the words "there's a party this weekend," and their mind instantly begins drafting a polite escape plan. Not because they're sad, not because crowds terrify them, but because, deep down, they already know they'd rather spend that time alone. And for a long time, society has been completely wrong about people like them, psychology included. Because there's a massive difference between feeling lonely and choosing to be alone. One feels like an ache. The other can feel like clarity. And for decades, we treated them as the same thing. For years, psychologists bundled everyone who enjoyed solitude into one uncomfortable box: introverts, loners, socially withdrawn. And then there was that loaded label, antisocial, as if preferring your own company meant you were quietly plotting a dramatic downfall arc. If you liked being alone too much, something must be wrong. But then the research caught up to reality. In 2016, researchers at the University at Buffalo decided to challenge an assumption no one had really questioned before. What if some people aren't avoiding others at all? What if they simply prefer solitude, not out of fear, not because of trauma, but because being alone genuinely feels good to them? They gave this preference a name: unsociability. Not antisocial, that's hostility toward people. Not avoidance, that's fear-driven withdrawal. But unsociability, the quiet, self-assured choice to enjoy your own company. And here's the twist. When researchers actually studied these people, they weren't struggling, they weren't maladjusted, they were doing just fine. In many cases, better than fine. So what's actually happening inside the brain of someone who truly enjoys being alone? First, their dopamine system plays by different rules. Extroverts often need social stimulation to feel energized. The laughter, the shared excitement, the feedback loop of people bouncing off each other, that's a dopamine rush for them. People who love solitude, their dopamine systems are more sensitive. They hit their enough point faster. Think of it like sound volume. One person needs the music blasting to feel alive, another prefers it low and clear, and anything louder becomes overwhelming. And it gets deeper. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reflection, planning, creativity, and complex thought, shows increased activity during intentional alone time for these individuals. They're not bored. They're not disengaged. Their minds are actively processing, connecting dots, building ideas. This lines up perfectly with creativity research. The biggest insights don't usually arrive during group brainstorming or loud conversations. They show up in silence, in showers, on long solo walks, late at night when the world finally stops talking. Einstein worked alone, Newton too. Virginia Woolf famously argued that creativity requires personal space. Maya Angelou rented hotel rooms just to write in solitude, even when she had a home waiting for her. That's not isolation. That's intentional environment design. Now, before you label yourself and move on, pause. Because there's an important distinction we need to talk about. Are you choosing solitude or hiding in it? Some people don't seek alone time because it nourishes them. They retreat because it feels safer, because connection feels risky, because rejection hurts, and solitude becomes armor. Psychologist Abraham Maslow touched on this when he said, healthy solitude comes from fullness, not lack. You enjoy being alone because you know connection exists. You've experienced it. You can return to it. You're not escaping people. You're reconnecting with yourself. So the real question isn't, do you like being alone? It's why. If your reasons sound like recharge, reflect, create, reset, you're likely in a healthy space. If they sound like less painful, safer, easier, that's not a failure, but it might be worth gently examining. Because here's what people who thrive in solitude understand. Being alone does not mean being unfinished. We love saying things like "my other half" or "you complete me," as if humans are walking around missing pieces of themselves. But people who enjoy solitude have quietly stepped out of that narrative. They don't see themselves as halves waiting to be filled. They see themselves as whole. And that's not ego. That's self-knowledge. Research from UC Santa Barbara found that single individuals who genuinely value solitude often maintain stronger, healthier relationships overall. Why? Because they're not demanding that one person meet every emotional need. They're not clinging, they're choosing. They understand something most people miss. The quality of your alone time shapes the quality of your connection with others. When you've centered yourself, when you've processed your thoughts, when you're not emotionally depleted, you show up better. Not needy, not resentful, just present. There's strength in that. And here's a cultural perspective most people don't talk about. In Japan, there's a concept called hitori, intentional time alone. It's normalized, respected, designed for solo dining booths, individual movie seats, one-person karaoke rooms. Being alone isn't treated like a social failure. It's treated like a valid human state. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the world, eating alone still earns concerned looks and awkward questions, as if solitude requires an explanation. So what does all of this mean for you? If you genuinely enjoy being alone, you're not defective. You're not emotionally distant. Your brain is wired to find restoration in quiet. And in a world addicted to noise, that's not a weakness, it's an advantage. Just stay honest with yourself. Make sure solitude is a choice, not a shield. Ask yourself, can I connect when I want to? Do I trust people? Am I resting or retreating? Because the healthiest relationship with being alone is one rooted in freedom, not fear. And the next time someone questions why you canceled plans, why you stayed home, why you'd rather sit with a book than stand in a crowd, you have options. You can explain the neuroscience, you can reference the research, or you can simply smile and say, because I enjoy my own company. That answer tends to end the conversation. And honestly, that's kind of the point. If this video just put words to something you've always felt but never explained, don't scroll away. The videos on screen pick up right where this one leaves off. One explores how your brain handles stimulation. The other dives into why certain routines feel non-negotiable to you. They're not random. They're the next pieces of the puzzle. I'll see you there.